Hello there, and welcome to Empower Your Soul. I am going to close this book today on the Teresa Caputo thing because I have to. I got a lovely email in from Margaret that I want to read. I want to talk about the reactions I've seen on social media about her, and then I just want to kind of close the book in terms of what my thought process has been, a week later, another additional week to process this information and what my perspective on her is. Okay, so Margaret wrote me, and by the way, thank you so much, Margaret, a lovely email about, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but she went to a Teresa Caputo show in Staten Island. She was on the third level of a very large theater, and she did agree and comment that yes, Teresa tended to stay on the bottom floor. She did make her way up the stairs, which was really great. But all along, Margaret felt this feeling that Teresa was going to speak to her. And she actually was so afraid that she actually bought tickets to a show before this, didn't go because she was so afraid that Teresa was going to read her. So needless to say, Teresa comes chugging up these stairs, to the third floor of this theater, and stops right in front of Margaret, and then proceeds to ask who knew somebody who was not able to speak before they passed away. And she was surprised. And she's like, yeah, I knew someone like that. But she was so shell shocked. And she said, honestly, a little stage fright as well, that she didn't speak up. So what happened was there was a woman near her that ended up getting the reading. And she proceeded, the person that came through had died in a capsized boat during Superstorm Sandy. And what was so interesting was that while Teresa was speaking to this woman who came and talking to her departed husband, Margaret says, I kept saying Teresa. I kept reaching out to her to get attention. She's even said, like, I felt like I couldn't stop. At one point, it didn't even feel like me calling to her. And she was so sure that one of her relatives had wanted to come through. So she was quiet. She didn't say anything else. She wanted to apologize. Obviously, you can't in these big venues. And it was just such an interesting email because she says, I wonder if she ever had anyone else do something like that. Absolutely, yes. And before I answer that question for you, Margaret, I have to chuckle a little bit about your last sentence. And it's a me problem. It's not a you problem. Like you said specifically, one thing I did not care for regarding her behavior was that she did curse using foul language at times when she was talking to the audience. I didn't think it was professional or warranted. I agree with you, but also I am a foul-mouthed sailor. So I personally, this is just me preemptively apologizing to you, Margaret, if or when that does happen, if I ever give a reading for you. Because I think spirit needs to work within the constructs of who we are. And I swear so much my kids call them mama words. I do. So I'm sorry. Please know that I think this is just how different mediums present and how different mediums bring in the channel of spirit. I agree. I think with some spirits, they don't like me to swear and they make sure I don't swear, but other spirits, it really adds to the personality. So I just got to chuckle a little bit. And I think your perspective is valid. And if you don't like a medium that swears, totally cool. Does not bother me at all. And it just made me laugh because I think it's just funny to me. I'm sorry. I hope that didn't offend you, but it's funny to me as someone who swears like a sailor, and I don't think I could shut it off if I tried. Okay, so in terms of your email, Margaret, and I do love it because it was a lot of feedback on the social media about Teresa, and in processing this additional week, I have to tell you that what happened to you seems to be where I saw the reading fell apart. So let me talk about, I'm going to kind of tap into the energy of what happened to you and then kind of what my perspective is or how I'm reading it as a medium. Because from your perspective, like you had this feeling she was going to come up to you. She actually did come up to you and validate something for you. And then because you didn't say anything, she went to the next person. So as a performer, as somebody who runs the show, and as a medium who does have demonstrations, this happens all the time. And I think this is feedback that I received after my most recent demonstration by the woman who owns the crystal store, by like, hey, I'll be honest with you, the first spirit, nobody freaking took my first spirit. Well, someone did, but then it didn't land right. Like the energy was off. I was getting no's and I was like, this isn't normal. Something's up. But I can only trust the audience so much. So if no one willingly takes the spirit I brought through, what will happen behind the scenes is the spirit will swap out for a different spirit, because they're not going to waste a connection, and everyone there is to receive messages. So if you're not brave enough to raise your hand in the session, then they're going to do a spirit swap, and another spirit that's similar to the one I was coming through will come through. So and this looks fake. This looks like fraud, right? It honest to God, it does. And I can understand why people say that 100%. So I just want you to know that's essentially what happened. Because you didn't speak up, the spirit was swapped, but they didn't go away because they kept bothering you to the point of you kept saying, Teresa, 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 right? So, so I just want to say totally normal. I want to validate that for you. And then number two, I'm going to let you know, like, I'm sure it didn't bother her at all, because I have to tell you, when I'm in the zone of mediumship, people come and sit down. People get up and use the bathroom. I have no idea, because I'm in such a zone. I'm so much in my head, in my channel, that I do not even notice things going on. So I want to let you know, she probably had no idea. And by the way, it probably happens all the time because she's a celebrity. That's what, I mean, who doesn't walk down the street and yell Teresa if they see her, right? I think I would. So, oh, spirits in my head saying, not anymore. Oh, they're so funny. So I just want to validate for you that everything that happened to you was normal, which is really interesting, because I'm getting this feeling like it keeps you up at night, Margaret, and I don't want it to keep you up at night, because it is normal. And I hope I explained that as well for the swapping of the spirits, because I truly feel like that's what kept happening over and over and over again in the show that I was at. Because I truly do believe that these spirits that needed to come through were coming through, but the person either wasn't raising their hand, or they were maybe across the room, and Teresa was not going to put in the effort to actually go to the person who that spirit was for. So because of the swapped energy of the spirits, because the spirits that she was talking to weren't with like the right person and she was making it fit, that just, you can feel that shift in energy. It feels unsettled. It feels like it's not landing. Like it feels like, what's a good, let me see if I can, they're showing me a visual in my mind, but it's really, you're waiting for it to land. It's this feeling of anticipation, of like this energy went up in the air. She's calling out who these spirits are. The energy's in the air. It's like you're at the top of a jump and you're just waiting for it to come down and land, but it never lands. That person never comes down. So that's the energy it felt like from a mediumship perspective. So I want to validate that for you, Margaret. So let it go. Let it go. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. I mean, that's the name of the game. So know for you, it was your loved one coming through. Know that they were channeling through you, and that's unfortunately how it goes. And then in terms of the other feedback about the show, like I don't want to dish. I don't want to name names, but I have to tell you that over on TikTok, that one went pretty wild, pretty quick. I think. Just a few days later, I think I have 60,000 views on that video, and most of the comments are extremely negative, and they seem to have the same experience that I did. Really wanting to have a great reading, have a great show with Teresa, really being excited and walking away feeling disappointed. So that was really cool. There were some other comments about Matt Frazier that came through, and that was really interesting for me to compare and contrast, because I also have been to see Matt Frazier, and personally, I thought his show was better than Teresa's show. Other people had different, they thought he was worse, so again, every time you go up to these shows, it's this energetic experiment, which is so interesting. Long story short, though, is that every medium, regardless of the venue, regardless of the size of the audience, regardless of what's going on in their personal life, shows up to these events, and it takes massive amounts of energy and effort to channel these spirits in an ethical, in an authentic, and a truthful way. And I have to give Teresa Caputo kudos, even though I don't think I can watch her again. I have to give her kudos for doing it, but also at the same time helping me understand the type of medium that I want to be and what I don't want to be. And I want to make sure that I look at her and I want to make sure that I'm delivering the messages as open and honest and as authentically as possible. And then as I talk about this, they're telling me I need to go to one more show. So I'm gonna not any of the ones I mentioned. I do want to go to, there's a local medium up here in Massachusetts that does big venues all the time, and she's not national or anything like that. So I'm going to have to go to her show, and then I will report back. But I hope that helps, Margaret. I want to send you all the love for all the people that commented on the post. Thank you for helping me continue to process the information. But I'm going to close the book on lovely Miss Caputo, and I'm going to send her my love and thank her for doing, I am going to say the Lord's work, God's work, because I truly think she is. But she just ain't the medium for me anymore. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.